We are made to love. We are made in the image of God, who is love, and therefore part of the image that we carry includes our capacity to love and our imperative to love as God loves. But we will love in very different ways, and our very different ways of loving form our vocation. That our vocation may be, and for most of us it will be, to love in married life. Or it may be to love as a vowed religious, that could be a nun, monk, brother or sister, or to love as an ordained minister, priest or deacon. Each of these are different, but they are all equivalent and complementary ways of loving, complementary vocations. And in this Vocation Sunday, where we celebrate and pray for vocations, I'd like us to look at the gospel of this weekend in the light of that vocation to love. I find great inspiration in this weekend's gospel, which begins with Jesus giving a bit of a missionary teaching, saying, "Be dressed and ready for action and have your lamps lit." And so we hear, a sense of being sent forward. We are to be on a front footing, ready for action. We know that this is not about sitting back, this is about moving out and moving forward. And the call is for us to move forward in love. Now, to love, there implies commitment. That love is not something casual, not something just done at our own convenience. To love is to always put the other first, to desire the best and the growth of the other. And so it implies a commitment. And as we go on through this section of teaching, we hear a rather harsh section where Jesus gives an image of being that we are like servants whose master comes back and whose master might give us many strokes of the lash if we've not done the master's bidding. And that sounds quite harsh to our ears, but it's fairly, common in parables of judgment. But what I really find inspiring is the latter few lines where we hear not the punishment for those servants who have not done the right thing, but we hear, "For those to whom much has been given, much will be expected. Those to whom much has been given on trust, even more will be expected." And that's a lovely line. Those to whom much has been given, much will be expected. And if we have been given much, as I think we all have, and I certainly know in my life I've been given so much, it then forms the basis of our duty, our imperative to love and love in a committed way within our vocation. And that idea of commitment really stands out something quite unique in our present culture. Our culture values freedom, we value flexibility, we value not settling down, not having commitment. And so the call to love in a committed way is something contrary to our culture that we need to hear for our own good and the good of all people. And when we look at the religious vocations of priesthood or our diaconate and religious life, and we often see them in somehow as being the opposite spectrum to love in marriage. And people often say, if priests could be married, then there'd be more priests. But that's really not the case. What we see is in cultures where marriage is strong and commitment is strong, then the call to religious life and priesthood is also strong. In cultures, including Western cultures like Australia, where the commitment to marriage is not strong, neither is a commitment to religious life and priesthood. I'm not so concerned about, but my point is not so much about people who've been married and could not stay married for whatever reason and then therefore separated and divorced, but rather for those who never intend to try to be married, those who have no desire to commit to anyone or anything. When that lack of commitment is prevalent, then we're not going to see vocations to priesthood or religious life either. Marriage and priesthood go up together and down together. And we see the symptoms in our culture of that lack of commitment also in the falling birth rate. The birth rate is presently 1.5 children per woman, which is below the replacement rate of 2.1. We see it even more devastatingly in some countries like South Korea, Taiwan and Japan, where the birth rate is something like 0.7 or 0.75, far below the replacement rate. It speaks of a culture where people do not want to commit to give life to another person and to be a loving spouse or parent. In those cultures, the commitment to religious life and priesthood will also dry up as well. So we want to, explore the idea of commitment, the call we all have to love in a committed way. And therefore, I think the basis of that is to take stock of what we have been given. So Ignatius invites us to a reflection where we look at all the gifts which God has given us, starting with our creation. We did not give ourselves life, so life is itself a gift. We did not save ourselves. Jesus saves us on the cross, so our redemption is also a great gift from God. We've all received those gifts. But then Ignatius invites us to go and reflect further how God loves us personally in a unique way. And then that we each have unique blessings. It might be the circumstances of our life, our gifts, our talents, the people in our lives. But to take stock of all these things, so we can say, like the person in the gospel parable, that we are someone whom much has been given, and therefore much is expected. That we need to love in a committed way. And whether that will be for us marriage or religious life or ordained ministry, we are to put the same level of effort and love and commitment into whichever vocation we are called to. And for the many of us who have already made our commitment, most likely to marriage, then it is to say, now that I am married, how do I continue to take stock of the love I've received in my life and continue to love within my marriage and love to my children? This is the great invitation Jesus gives us all, to have a fruitful love. So let us celebrate in this Vocation Sunday the vocation each of us have to love in a unique and different way. How are you called to love? What is your vocation?